super natural. So, purpose of today is we are finally going to be taking a whack at this video series. All this cardboard. I'm not real big into unboxings, so we're not going to do like some weird fanfare. But essentially, the whole purpose of this is I wanted to have like a series that builds on, because I don't know if you were around at the time when I did the beginner rifle stuff. That was during that was while I was an instructor. So that was right after I had met you. But for the dudes watching, we did the beginner rifle series, which is a introduction to how to stand, how to hold your rifle, stuff like that. What I wanted to do is I wanted to go online and find the cheapest rifle that I could find that is gonna remain the same price throughout the year. So it's not that I went and I hunted specifically for a deal and like picked it up and I got this one deal and it'll never be that way. Generally I can find this upper with this parts kit plus this lower at roughly the same price throughout the year. And then I picked up a optic because most people are gonna start off with a red dot rather than start with irons. So I bought the cheapest setup that I could find. And what we'll do is I'll get this cut open and then we'll bring the camera over here. That way you guys can see. But essentially all I'm doing with this series is I wanted to give you the bare bones basic of what you need to get started. So not necessarily like you have to go out and buy a Knight's upper. I know Drew, you bought a Daniel. I have a Geisley, but I started very cheap. Like I had a really expensive barrel when I bought my first gun, and then, you know, everything else was a PSA part. So all the parts that were on my first gun were PSA, and then I ended up buying a BCM complete upper down the road, and then that was what I used for the last, I don't know how many years. So like,
how many rounds?
I think I had close to 15.
15,000?
15,000 fully suppressed on the BCM.
Before it shot through?
Yeah, and I saw that barrel, which we could show one day. We could do like a talk about that one, but I didn't need a BCM to get started, right? So that's the whole premise of this, is you don't need to go out and spend $600 on an upper when you can buy a gun for $380 and then a red dot for $100, and now you're into something that you can protect yourself, protect your family, and then learn how to train effectively for like $500. And then you can take what you learn from that, and if you hate it and you don't want to ever do this shit again, you're only out $500, and you could make that money back by either selling it, parting it out, or just keeping it. Or then you invest further. You buy a BCM or a Daniel Defense upper, and now you have a lower that's already put together, because a lower is a lower is a lower, at least from my experience. Moving forward from that, you know, you get into gear and all the other expensive shit that we're going to talk about, because this is going to be a series of videos where not just the gun, but like minimal gear to get started. Quote unquote, it's going to cost you like 20 bucks, and it's going to be one of these. Because realistically, everybody owns a belt, like a leather belt from Walmart. You buy a single mag pouch, you can hold a mag in your belt, and now you have a mag in the gun, and now you can do basically everything that you and I do. And so that's the overall premise of this, is very minimal required gear, but also like budget shit for guys that don't want to go out and don't know if they want to shoot a ton, but they just want to get into this.
So in 2016, I did basically this same thing. I went online and I decided that I'm gonna buy the everyman's gun. Like, what is the most affordable blue collar self-defense that I can build? And I bought this exact upper, a parts kit, an Anderson lower, and I put everything together with basically GI spec stuff, and I used a military surplus 2-screw charging hand or carrying handle rear sight, and I built a gun for $312, and it runs fine.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So out of the box, quality control with PSA is known to be pretty shit, like pretty shite. Can't remember if I bought a blim. I don't think this is a blim upper. I know this lower was blim, and you can see it on the thing right there. Maybe, I don't know if you can. Maybe right there, the end of my thumbnail. There's like a little divot if the camera's not picking it up. It's like you can see it.
Yeah.
It's like the tiniest little thing, but it's all cosmetic. Obviously, as far as I can tell, we haven't even taken the stuff off.
Blim kit.
Like is it a blim? Okay, so you can find these blim kits. I paid $300 for the upper with a bolt carrier, a charging handle, a complete lower parts kit, and then I paid $29.99 for a PSA stealth lower, and then $100 even for the Romeo 5. Generally throughout the year, you're gonna plus or minus 20 bucks off total price. Total price being roughly like $480-ish, and that's with the transfer fee. So you're gonna plus or minus 20, right? So you could maybe find this whole get up for $460, maybe sometimes even lower. You swamp the red dot and buy like a cheap rear sight from Ruger. The Ruger flip ups are basically just clones of the Magpul ones. You can get those for, I think it's like 38 bucks. So you're talking total rifle with a functioning sighting system for like $380, give or take, right? So just looking at this out of the box, which today, at least for this part of the episode, we'll probably just do one long thing, and then I'll just cut this into parts because it's going to be a long thing. But looking at the finish, if you want to look over this, the only blemish spot that I can see is that one. And looking at the upper, which the finish looks fine. It's not like super shiny, or I doubt it's going to hold up super well to some Marine Corps level abuse, but I'm not going to treat my gun like a private treats their gun. I did pay for this, so.
What's your stance on flat black rifles, Zach?
I think a black gun is sexy, if I'm being honest. I absolutely love my URGI esque rail and little color scheme that I got going on, but that's just a personal preference thing. This is a Carpenter 158 MPI inspected bolt with what looks like one of those weird nib. Is it nib? It's not nickel boron. Nickel boron is nib, right?
Yeah.
This has got like that shiny finish on it though. Like you can feel it. It's like it's not the phosphate where it's like that hard phosphate coating. That's got like the, so it should be easier to clean. Charging handle is straight, so that's good for a $10 part that, you know, hopefully would work. Barrel, straight-ish. I'm just kidding. It's straight. Rifling looks fine. Muzzle device is on there. I mean, it's on there more than hand tight, so it's not going to come off. Let's see. I hate pulling these things on and off, so I'm probably not going to. But I am going to wiggle this.
You don't have a handguard puller?
I think I do in that box. Everything seems to fit and line up just fine. Let's get into the build, which pretty sure YouTube's guidelines say that I can't do this on camera because of the GATF and all the other things. So we'll pause the thing for just a sec. I'm gonna get everything laid out in front of us, and then we'll bring it back once I get it all. We can actually just probably, you and I can have a conversation while I put it together, because it'll take me about 10 minutes. Ooh.
What do we got?
So, okay. So, throw that in the trash. We have a unmarked buffer tube, which I'm guessing is a PSA, but it has it's got white paint on the spring. I've never seen that before, other than like on Sprinkos. So no idea what this is supposed to be, if PSA is adding Sprinkos to their stuff. Buffer tube. Looks fine. Normal.
GI hardware.
Just GI hardware. This is a PSA marked trigger. So I think this is just a standard mil spec from them, but it's got like a green spring and some other stuff, which if you guys will be able to see that green spring right there. I don't know if this is anything special. I'd assume this is just a mil spec parts kit with somebody's springs. I doubt those are PSA's springs, like they do those in house. This is a GI like pistol grip and trigger guard. So little M4 trigger guard. Okay, this open. What do we have here?
All the fixings.
Yep. So bolt catch, pins, detents, springs, your buffer retainer, safety selector and spring, which nothing special.
GI parts.
Yep, so none of this stuff, which I'm not inspecting it. I'm not inspecting this like with a fine tooth comb and like whatever. I'm just glancing over all this stuff to make sure nothing's like standing out as weird, like rusted. You know, PSA's quality control is kind of questionable most of the time, so like I want to make sure if I'm picking up a bag of parts, the parts that I need in this bag are actually there, and that I'm not going to be having to like source my own little odds and ends that they should have in this kit. So took all of 30 minutes to put that together. The only thing this thing's really missing is the big three, which would be a sling, a light, and a Geisley trigger. But I think that's about it. Like I said at the beginning, this whole series is just going to be like basic gear that everybody's going to need just to kind of get into this. Like, what is the least amount you can spend? I'm glad you guys stopped by to listen to Drew and I just kind of bullshit our way through this, and hopefully you stick around for the series. But with that being said, we'll catch you guys around.